Hello guys and welcome to TFT World Cup Grand Finals, game number 1. Enjoy.
First two. And overall, they actually have a lower AVP.
Hello guys and welcome to TFT World Cup Grand Finals, game number 1. Enjoy.
Off early stage 1, we're looking for those orbs dropping Syndras. Alan was saying those little gifts, picking that up, that's exactly what you want to see with some items, and of course with the item Anvil, being able to find something immediately that can help you stack up a Syndra. It can be a massive game, and there's Lee Sao getting both a Syndra and a Rumble. 2 Syndras and a Rumble.
And just in case, has the Kog'Maw on the bench in case he gets 5 more in his next shot. We see a Mordekaiser, and oh my goodness, I think one route has already been locked in for one of the Wolves players, and there's a Syndra too! We're not even on stage 2 yet! What's going on?
As well. He can't stop laughing. He's like, well, okay, I guess game 1 in the book, boys. How does this get any more egregious? He pops the item Anvil, and we're going to see either like a Ginsu or a Shojin, right?
Oh, yeah. It's going to depend on which item he drops here, but if it's a Gwinsu, I think that's just going to be massive. All the players already smiling.
I wonder why, Clemens. They have such energy in their voices to start off this game 1. One thing I want to mention for sure is going to be the reroll lines. We've seen, of course, a Syndra being spectacular across the entire tournament, but Kog'Maw specifically for T1 has been incredibly important.
Did you see that?
Mordekaiser 2!
There's a Mordekaiser 2 on 1-4. It wasn't even 2-1. What? What is going on? This is egregious high rolling.
Fortune favors the bold. Probably not going to be the option because we have a Mordekaiser too. It's going to be hard to lose fights, even if you choose or want to in this stage 2.
And I did want to mention for both of these teams, they really like playing multiple Syndras. For both of them, they're averaging over 2 Syndra players a game.
He sold it.
He wants to give it to the other Syndra player.
Yeah.
Mordekaiser too?
Yeah,
I'll play for
2
one.
on 2 1.
Look at the setup here. We're maybe looking at a Zoe line for right now at the very least. The units held, the units on this board. Metabolic, though, means we're staying very healthy all throughout stages 2 and 3. Potentially looking at that high-risk, high-reward strategy. Losing HP early but having kind of one of those max caps later on in the game. I wonder what direction he'll take that in, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of different win-out augments coming in here. One of the ones I want to mention is Build Different, being selected by Bobe. That's been a very strong augment given how powerful some of these 4 costs are. And of course, Metabolic Acceleration, also more leaning towards being a win-out player.
Now look, we still don't have the item Anvil popped here for Serene. Selling out of the Mordekaiser, making 20, playing around the Metabolic. Going to be, as Clement said, looking to potentially win out. Big loss streak could come through.
This is one of the key skills in TFT. Sometimes you warp your initial stage 2 strategy around, what upgrades you get in terms of units, but all in all, you really have to sync up your augment picks, your itemization, and your unit pickups to decide, am I loose streaking or am I win streaking? What has the highest potential? If you're loose streaking, why pop the Anvil? Keep that option open. Decide once you find a few more units. Once you go through the carousel, you can pop it going into the carousel even, and choose both at the same time.
Yeah, you just want to wait for the carousel and make your best choice. On the other hand, for YGQF, this is the designated reroll player on the side of Team Wolves. I did want to throw out, whenever he plays the Syndra, he's actually averaged a first. This time around, of course, going to be going for Kog'Maw.
Yeah, it got reduced a little bit in his semifinal match, playing Syndra, not getting the first there, but as you said, coming into the semis, coming into the final day, ridiculous stats there, leaning towards the Kog'Maw here. Also, re-rolling in this game, but also dedicated towards finding, at least attempting the win streak or play for tempo, and gonna slam the Sunfire out of the Anvil to try and get some of that early game power.
This mirror matchup for the win streak, but also maybe for the comp, they're both playing. Kog'Maw reroll seems to be in the books for both players. Right now, SCSC seems to be coming out just a tiny bit ahead, which is really, I think, a big deal for YGQF, considering he's on 19 gold, wants to hit that 20 without selling any of these key units on his bench.
Can't do it, is going to lose that 1 interest. And I do want to mention, we can see how T1 is going to react because they're the heaviest Kog'Maw team that we have in the entire tournament. Do they think that runaway Kog'Maw is a huge issue, or will they allow a potential 1 solo player to just be on the best friends Kog'Maw?
Yeah, they kind of played the most Kog'Maw and also kind of had the best results with it as well. They're like AVP with it, look better than most of the teams. Even SCSE playing multiple games and averaging a 3, which is way higher than we expect Kog'Maw to usually end up. And even in that just last game played in the semis with Bintum having it uncontested and having such a solid result there.
I think Kog'Maw and Caster are the 2 comps that are actually reroll comp. Syndra sometimes is reroll, mostly it's more of a tempo option that does cap out very high as well. Contrary to reroll comps that you tend to really spike at 3-2, you stay healthy, maybe win streak all of stage 3, most of stage 4, and then you start bleeding out in HP. The key difference is that Multi-Strikers has an easier time going into a tempo strategy, into Kalista, into Camille, whereas Kog'Maw, you're stuck on this line. If you don't hit your units, you're going to start really bleeding, hitting that 7th, that 8th place position at the end of the game.
It's the most easy line to disrupt. You need your 3 stars, absolutely, and this is why some teams don't go for it. Some teams prefer to just disrupt.
All right, first carousel of the game. Look at the tiers, look at the bows. Where are they going? Where are the Syndras? How many Syndra boards do we already have? It looks like 4 players currently playing it, with Serene open fording with Metabolic. Bintum gonna be able to find a tier out the gates to try and help himself out.
And 5 players with Syndra board leaning into it. So, this is exactly what we expect. The contour of the game is going to be very low to the ground here. A lot of them just denying options from each other.
SCSC also looking at the unit pickup. The Kog'Maw's picked up there a little bit closer to that Kog'Maw 3, which we have talked about is going to be so contested, going to be so hard to hit, especially when someone else is also playing Kog'Maw. We've had many games throughout this tournament where there's only one Kog'Maw player. Yes, other players are griefing you, but there isn't that whole other player trying to get that same unit.
And because of that, oftentimes when it is the 2 Kog'Maw players on each team, you're seeing one go 8th and the other just scrapping for as many placements as possible. And that ends up being their role in the game, which is why you see it still being considered a good comp, even though it has one of the most abysmal AVPs we've ever seen for like a meta composition.
You have to play something.
44, it's different, yeah.
Talking about scrapping out, though, Dooney Juni is that designated player on T1, hasn't won out yet, the only player not to take a first place on the team. So we typically expect him on 4-cost lines like Warrior Preserver to just make sure he maintains the HP and sell it out later to his teammates.
And Bobe, with Built Different, one of those unique augments that opens up a new path that you wouldn't be able to play otherwise, similar to that Vertical Portal, similar to Golden Quest, for example. You have this alternate win condition to play for to stay strong in Stage 4. And the key thing in 4v4 is, because you can play any unit, you can grief someone take their units, but also play those units on your board, get extra value from them, and not have them just on your bench.
Yeah, we even saw a mid-game Built Different playing Kassadin 2, Syndra 2, Kog'Maw 2 earlier on in the tournament, so you can kind of definitely look for those angles until you get to the 4-cost later on, because all of those units actually do great with attack speed and health, and it all works out.
Set 12, greatest hits, Built Different.
Exactly, 100%. We got it. And for the early game, right, we just have this Nomsy with the Static Shift playing around very good synergy with the Built Different just to find as much tempo as possible, and Bobe being able to find the win streak because of it.
Yep. All 1 unit on Saren's board right here. Let's see if he can keep the full loss streak. Looks like it will be just a simple matter here. He is going to be able to lose streak fully. We have seen a lot of players, though, not being able to bounce back from the lose streak. This has been a big point of contention in both of our previous series. Full open loss streak. If you don't hit, you're gone. So the rest of the team does have to cover for you.
Especially if you move into the tempo lines, where you have to have a very good understanding about the different trait webs that fit together on Stage 4 roll down. Early into this tournament, coming into it, the meta for 4-cost flex was around Fiora, Preservers with Karma, and Rakan, and now we're seeing a huge evolution across these days. There's now Ryze being slotted in, Teryx, Tom Kench's. Having that versatility is key to make sure you have no excuse to say, oh, I just missed my units.
All right, let's take stock of the streaks. Bobe able to 5-streak into Krugs. Serene and Bintum both on the lost streaks. A lot of gold in the pockets of each of these players. Serene actually holding on to more HP because of that metabolic. Going to start to build a big gap there.
I'm actually kind of surprised. Lee Sao didn't win with Syndra 2. Something must have happened right there. Overall, I do think this is going to be a little bit of a slower game. 2 players on the 4-cost line on the side of T1. Bobe going for Build Different, and Bintum with Clear Mind. Both of them angling for more tempo compositions here.
The items are almost there for Lee Sao, but not quite. Missing maybe a BF sword, missing a bow, and doesn't find any of that. A few of the, what would be considered the worst components in set 12 right now, the glove and the chain, a little bit awkward, especially for Syndra that only has a singular tier onto her. Loose streaking might be important now, but hey, you're on a 4-win streak. You don't have first pick order on the Stage 3 carousel.
Balance in all things. You get the Syndra 2, can't find the items to put on it.
I would still prefer his spot. No problem here. Shelty, again, going for another Syndra line. This is what we talked about. Both teams favoring 2 Syndra players each game. And also a huge find on Karma, level 6.
Not just that, the early picking order, the level 6 on 3-1, and the rolls, because he knows he has Pilfer, he can come back with his economy and wants to have that early chance to find the key units, the Vanguards and the Syndra, before anyone else rolls.
Bintum now also going to be playing around the Syndra, but that does look like it wants to be a Karma later on. Bintum angling towards that, as you mentioned, with the Cluttered Mine, going to be leveling up even quicker.
Taking a look at these streaks, Bobe seemingly able to hold on to his. We just saw him hit a stage 3 Olaf, a big find this early on. Works really well with attack speed. You know, built different, the main thing is you do have to find that Smolder 2 so far in the meta to cap out, but he will be in a very good position to scrap out.
Looking at Combat Caster as an option, of course, some incredibly strong gold augments at 2 Golden Quest. We've seen the power of it across these last few days. Something like a support golem. I think we all know how powerful these support items are. But for now, going to be the item grab bag, trying to find BIS, tank items especially, because you have already the Karma item ready to go, and you usually want that trifecta of itemization. A tank, a melee bruiser, and a ranged carry.
Little bit of a whiff getting a Tear and a Rod here, but does have the double glove, can look for TG. That can bolster your front line a lot of the time. It's an easy way to just get multiple items on one of your tanks, while you then can itemize a second one.
There's a Reforge, finds a cloak, and start building towards that Gargles, that Dragon Claw, 2 of the premier tank items in set 12.
Slamming coming up for Lisa. Again, what we've seen in the meta, mainly tempo with the Syndra line. You're not looking to hit Syndra 3, especially 3 players now across the board playing it. Juni also using that Syndra to kind of play learning to spell. So he's not going to be moving off of this line either way. All of them just holding hands. We expect them to be in the middle of the pack.
And Bobe, the unique Ezreal carry, thanks to that build different. You know, we don't see too much of outside of just being slotted in for that 6 portal mid-game if you have the portal +1 in stage 3. But in this case, with build different, and Red Buff especially, a great holder for stage 3 at least. Stage 4, maybe not as impactful.
Oh, it could even just be for a couple rounds, right? Because it's just the Ezreal 1, Bobe just saying, it's the strongest one for right this second for this fight. So I'll pick up the Ezreal, slam the items on it, put it onto the board, and then see what happens next. Because Bobe on the 7 streak, looking to see if he can complete stage 2, stage 3, win out with build different. We'll put him in such a phenomenal place to actually fully win this game.
We've already seen a best friends being selected by Wolves here, so SCSC, this game is going to be on spoiler duty, just making sure his opponent isn't going to run too far away. So we have the win-out player here on Wolves just being Serene, which has went for the little buddies, meaning that he's going to be playing around those 4 and 5 costs.
Bobe on the 7 win streak with the build different, trying to face off against the Syndra 2. Can the Ezreal clean up in time with the Rage Blade stacking? So important to try and hold this win streak for your own economy, but also to knock down Lee Sao a few places, to feel that pressure and maybe have to roll a little bit earlier for all the Vanguard and the Syndra upgrades, and it looks like that's the case. The Syndra 2, a little bit too strong, and especially with the tempo slams of the Guard Breaker and the Adaptive Helm.
I mean, the big thing there in the Mordekaiser 2 as well has come through for Lee Sao, and I think just between the Syndra 2, between the Mordekaiser 2, now you got the front line and the back line as we jump on to the next carousel here. Look at the big 4 costs people are trying to get there. Looks like Serene tried to deny Bintum from getting that Recon with the belt, unable to do so.
Nami also there for any Syndra player who wants to have that early Eldritch spike and the early CC spike as well from a Nami that in stage 3 where fights are a little bit slower, a little bit less dynamic, she does so much in terms of stopping your opponent's board.
I think Bobe is in a prime position to kind of dominate the game at this point, already sitting on 2 Olafs. And if you look at the rest of the board, there's 2 Kog'Maw players and 5 Syndra players. So Bobe kind of the runaway player in his own lane to capitalize.
Look at this setup with the slamming as well, the early Nami, the, maybe beginning of a win streak having just beat the strongest player in the lobby. That's good feedback, saying, hey, you're pretty strong right now if you just be the build different player who was on a 7 win streak coming into that fight.
And as much as Adaptive Helm is usually not what you want for Syndra, it still is mana gen, right? At the end of the day, it's still getting what you need done, and because you are tempoed, because you are so ahead of the pack as far as HP, you just want to play anything. And finding that Mordekaiser is so massively Sao to rebuild this win streak.
This is just such a great find. He's on slamming, so he has to build all of his items. He finally gets a Shojin as the 3rd pick here. So, he would have been in a lose streak situation, but with those mana generation items, he can win streak. He can keep on stacking here. And Serene is going to be the one under a little bit of pressure. Of course, he's going to be healing 2 HP every round here, but the 4-2 roll down has to be massive for him. He's already building for the Callista items.
Talk about the evolution of the four-cost flex board from just Karma and Fiora into Kalista, into Ryze, into Taric, into different four-cost units that didn't see so much play at the start of the set. And as you mentioned, little buddies plus the metabolic, if you hit enough units on that level 8 roll down, maybe we even see a level 9, and could become one of the win-outs players with the right upgrades on things like Diana, for example. We've seen so strong across this entire tournament with the right itemization.
SCSC on a 5-win streak got Crystal Ball, immediately stopped rolling. I'm curious if he is playing against another T1 member here and they're able to actually sack for him, but no, it's Shelty. So it was not somebody they could guarantee a win, just wanting to keep as much econ as possible.
This is a very interesting board for SCSC. He's done a great job at preserving HP and griefing YGQF, who's also playing the Kog'Maw. But if you look at his setup, it doesn't look like he has an AD setup right here. He has the AP items and the Spell Blade. Might need to transition later on.
There we go, trying to hold on to this win streak. The Kog'Maw and the Tristana still remaining, but Galio, it's one more cast, and we still have that Rage Blade Syndra getting a couple more casts off.
Just barely
Such a
does
big
it.
win for SCSC to be able to keep his win streak going into Wolves. It's so much extra gold.
And we're seeing already the board being sold. You pretty much have a free level 8 already for Bintum, thanks to, one, the lose streak, the extra gold he's generated alongside a Cluttered Mind, and now we're seeing already the composition he's going to try and assemble to stay stable, to stop the bleeding in stage 4.
It's absolutely huge if he can take the Kallistas and the Karmas out of the pool before the side of Serene. Serene is only on 39 HP, so they're all going to be doing big 4-1 roll downs.
This is where getting in around early is actually so crucial for hitting key units like the Karma, where you already have a very fixed itemization. You don't have these very flexible items. These are specifically built just for that Karma.
Oh,
They're
Karma
both going to
already
go,
hit.
but Bintum has so much more gold to work with. See the big roll downs coming through. Fiora found. Gwen could be Preserver Warriors, but the items are slammed for Karma. Gwen 2. There's a Callista. Can't find the Karmas at all, really. Just a
Big
single
Nasus
copy.
upgrade.
Has the front line, though.
Has the Gwen 2 as well. Would have liked the Fiora 2, but all in all, a very strong board on the left-hand side. Maybe not so much with the Callista still missing and the tank not looking too good. Still an Elise, still a Jack, still a few one-costs on the board there.
Yeah, a lot of key units missing on the side of Serene, actually. Not even being able to find that Hecarim to kind of fill in the trades. That's usually the most important part with the multi-striker and Callista flex.
Yeah, I think Bintum really getting the better of this 4-1 roll down, finding the front line with the Nasus, the Gwen as well, being able to help supplement that. And even though it is just a Karma 1, it has so much damage, and the time that will be bought in this fight, you've got this Morello Karma, should be able to get the job done.
11 loss streak for Serene, down to 30 HP. If this augment doesn't help save him and stabilize, he needs more gold to hit his key units here.
Already a massive gap opening up between the first place in the HP rankings. SCSC still on 94 HP, and the bottom end, as you mentioned, Bobe now also rolling, as you predicted, moving off of the reroll line, just trying to build a flexible board. Even Olaf maybe finding some time in the spotlight.
Guinsoo very flexible for this. They are going to be griefing all of the Callistas off of the pool. You can give it to Ryze in this instance, of course, and I think his line just needs one more tank. If he gets the tank in, Bobe should have a very good stage 4 to look forward to.
Still has two Olafs on the board, just showcasing the raw power of this unit without any items, not really indexing too much into him in terms of traits.
Being able to have that Blacksmith's gloves to go onto a Fiora 2 as well. Going to be able to use those items pretty flexibly, get a lot of value there. It's going to be Lee Sao trying to hold on to the win streak. This time against SCSC, one of them will lose their streak. SCSC held it for 7 rounds. Still not finding any 3 stars for the reroll, but the board has just been stable enough. Looks like it might finally end here with that Mordekaiser just being so tanky, but still, great job from SCSC to hold on to all this HP for the team.
Even though Lee Sao is never going to get a Syndra 3, he could still be the win out with the Syndra 2. Remember, he did start stacking this at the start of 1-4.
Kog'Maw 3 has been found for YGQF, maybe the product of the sale that came through the start of stage 4 for one of the T1 players. And we're seeing the contest not really going as well for SCSC. He's just now rolling heavily. Tristana is found at the very least. She has a Rage Blade already itemization, but all in all, the later roll The win streak gold not really helping as much as we could have predicted, but the augment setup maybe is strong with the 2 healthy, providing so much extra HP for this front line.
Yeah, able to buy some extra space, and we see that he's still just, 2 Blitzcranks away, 2 Nunus away. The front line's nearly there. Still causing a lot of problems for YGQF.
Dooney Junie rolling down on level 7 to 10 gold and does hit the Swain 3, a unit that almost is never played around this set. It's very easy to deny. You need to go level 7. Going up against YGQF without full completed items. Doesn't have the firepower to chew through the shapeshifters.
And it feels like the Shapeshifters has been the weaker variation of Syndra, but if you're able to find the 3 stars, that the health scaling from that trait on 3-star units is just so insane that it actually can work out quite well.
Weaker, but less contested. A share unit
Yeah,
pool in TFT is what that means. Sometimes you go for weaker strategy just because you have those higher caps if you are able to 3-star all these units. The first picks are out and about, ready to pick up their final unit and component upgrades for this stage 4. There's an open spatula as well. Can anyone cap around this, Clement?
Not right now. I'm really looking at Serene's board to see if he can stabilize at this point. Crucially, he needs to find the Callista 2. His main tank is the Tom Kench 2, which isn't usually the one you want. You really prefer the Rakan or the Nasus. But it's going to be a critical role here. If he doesn't find anything here, he's already on 13 lose streak, 15 HP, and he still misses.
Yeah, and from that carousel, Dooney Junie on the Shapeshifters, getting a Briar at level 7. It's going to be very helpful to continue to cap out that board. It's maybe a supplemental carry as this game continues on. But as you said, Serene, not able to really find much. Has the front line a little bit, right? He's got the Rakan, he's got this Tom Kench, but there's no items on them.
And if you're slamming 3 items on a Hecarim 2 at this point with the game on the line, you know something has gone terribly wrong when it comes to your roll down.
You know what went wrong? Selling Mordekaiser 2. I think that was a curse.
Bad karma. If you get a Mordekaiser 2, just play the line.
Yeah, it seems like the team decided to not let him take that. And we're going to see him at the end of his rope here. 17 health remaining, going up against Bintum, who now has the Karma 2 online as well. Such a tanky Nasus here. It's taking forever to try and get through that with this Callista. Finally does. It looks like the Karma should be able to have it. The stun from Zilean, not enough. Serene going to stay alive a little bit longer due to the fact that Metabolic has healed for like 28 life at this point. I mean, looking like a tiny Titans value, which is not great for a gold augment. Need to find some wins and get more value out of it.
But how many Callistas can there be in the pool? We just saw Bobe holding on to them. We saw Bintum also holding on to them. They all know that this Last Whisper and Rageblade can only go on one unit.
I think specifically Bobe altered his game plan and had a bigger reason to. The moment he saw that the lowest HP player was trying to play for a Callista on his 4-2 roll down, he purposely played for that Rageblade Last Whisper Callista as well. Even if he didn't hit, he makes it harder for one of the players from Wolves. And if they get eliminated, that's a big, big advantage coming to this game 1.
Yeah, and Serene going up against Shelty for this, the Keepers. Again, the problem for Serene is not having enough damage, and there's so many tanky stats on the side of Shelty. Fortunately for Serene, the TK's Thieves' Gloves have rolled some attack damage items instead of tank items, and maybe that will be the difference maker, as it is just the Syndra remaining, but the Zhonya's
so
Paradox keeps her alive for one more cast, and it is too much. Serene will fall down the first 8th place of this grand final.
Didn't win a single round this game outside of PvE, so that is something that I think they were going to have to review in terms of their strategy, and this is where the Korean teams are the strongest. Once they have someone out, they can manipulate the pools better. They start targeting the next person. 7 and 8 out, win condition becomes very clear.
And I spoke with a few players these days. They've all shared the same sentiment. It's so hard to play into that 4-cause flex playstyle off of a massive lose streak, because the moment you don't hit, you have no plan B. There's no way out of that game plan. We saw it there relying on the Callista 2. The moment it wasn't found, it was loss after loss after loss.
Bintum hits a duplicator here. He's already got a pair of Morganas on the bench. If he wants that as his next in, he will have a Morgana 2 to go with this Preserver Warriors board.
Is this a time where you maybe get rid of this Gwen? She's not really as impactful in terms of her AI. You are getting the Warrior, of course, for the Fiora, the Sugarcraft for the Bard, but if he can make it to 9 right now, it's a little bit short. He might consider it. Gonna keep rolling, maybe.
Has got all the pieces he wants right here. Bintum looking in a very strong win-out position. And with that 8th place, the question becomes for Wolves, who can actually keep him down? Who has the higher cap? to kind of salvage the 8th place on the other end of the board.
Last second, Bintum is going to use the duplicator on Morgana, does get her onto the board. Will be great as soon as he hits that level 9 to get the 4 preservers in. And his board just looks so dominant.
Never mind about Gwen. I take it back, Gwen.
Yeah, her AI is
You're a
generally
beast.
not great. This time, gets directly into the back line, takes out the Kog'Maw. Does plenty of work for Bintum in this fight.
Things are looking very dire for Wolves right now. Shelty, the only one with the win streak, also being taken away by Bobe. So the chances of a win out on the other side are diminishing. And, you know, we've only seen blowout games today. Both series, teams blew the opponent out 2-0.
We're seeing level 9 caps now. Rare in this current meta because you are so forced to roll for charms on 8 to roll for all your upgrades, but a very high tempo game plan with so many econ augments all around. We've seen slammers, we've seen pilfers, we've seen the cluttered mine, of course, from Binta means that a ton of players are going 9, will have that extra unit to fit in, and also the higher chance of finding legendaries. Do we see the Morganas, the Dianas, the Yumis even take over this game?
And it is the 2 higher HP Wolves players that are going to 9. They're trying to play for the highest cap that they can because they recognize Serene has gone in 8th. It's possible to lose YGQF in 7th. They have to play for 1 and 2. So we got Shelty versus Li Xiao. They've both been the ones who go to 9.
Wolves just throwing up their hands and going, hello, fight rotation, what's happening? These 2 players haven't met each other for 6 rounds. Is that normal?
2 win streakers, both currently on T1. The projection looking good for the Korean org. Bobe and Bintum so healthy and looking so strong for the start of this stage 5, where we're going to see a few more eliminations. 11 HP for Dunijuni, 14 HP for YGQF. And all of a sudden, they're on a single life. The rotation, if they get the rotation into Bintum, into Bobe, into these very strong players, they might be out.
2 win-out players coming in from T1 and 2 great scrappers that preserve their HP so incredibly well. Dunijuni learning to spell. He griefs away the Syndras, finds an alternative out in the Swain, and is able to preserve. On the other hand, we have from SCSC is able to play that Kog'Maw line and just make sure that YGQF doesn't run away with the game. Really the unsung hero from massive win streak into big lose streak and giving HP to the win-out players.
Let's see if Bobe can take down YGQF here. We've got the Kog'Maw trying its best against this built different board, but it just cannot handle it for now. Dunijuni on the other side with the Swain and the Syndra able to hold on. Look at that Swain, such a beast.
The runic portal opened up on the right, but not quite enough. For Dunijuni, he also does survive. So all of a sudden, we have 2 players from T1 on the chopping block. SCSC, 7 loss streak, free falling in the HP totals. And looking at the carousel, a few very impactful emblems in Cantor and Arcana. And I guess Honeymancer to some degree, a portal emblem a little bit late into the game to change your entire game plan.
YGQF doesn't actually go for the Honeymancer, even though he does have best friends. Would give him a lot of extra B stacking into the back line right there, but he's going to go for more immediate tank items into his front line. I like Honeymancer. I wanted to see a little bit more B stack.
I mean, one thing, sorry, you have to pronounce the augment name properly. It's not best friends.
Oh, it's BS.
There we go. Now I like it. There we go,
friends,
Clement.
okay.
BS friends,
Perfect.
Clement. That's
Music
what we're
to my
looking
ears.
for. But the other Kog'Maw not having the BS friends and not having the BS time in this game is SCSC, down on 5 HP, 7 loss streak. Looks like he's likely to go out. Tried to scrap for a while. You were right, Clement. I mean, he did a very good job scrapping for as long as possible, playing this line kind of from a weird spot to contest the opposing version. It looks like SCSC's time may be up. See where the combat is. It is going to be against YGQF on the same Kog'Maw line, but it does look like his board, but better. And I'm not sure that SCSC will be able to survive.
We're looking at the minions on the Nunu. We'll see what can go on here. No items on the Kog'Maw is a big deal. It's only the Tristana really dealing damage. And you want the Kog'Maw to be the star of the show when it comes to really scaling into the later stages of this fight. The Stoneplate and the Sunfire doing so much. It looks like it's going to be a sweep. Even the Gunblade putting in work on the opposite side for Tristana. That will be the end of the road for SCSC. The 7 loss streak becomes 8. And all of a sudden, parity at the bottom of the standings.
On the other side, though, Bobe able to lose to Dunijuni to lose the streak, but keep Dunijuni alive. This is going to be very important because Dunijuni is probably strong enough to outlive one of the members of Wolves. You need that extra placement to try and make this top 4 a little easier.
Look at Bintum at the top. That 4 win streak has now become 9. We're out of stage 5 almost. One more fight left. And Bintum once again is rising up to become the hero for this team when he's needed most, when we're in the game one that sets the stage for this grand finals.
Lisa still not finding that Mordekaiser 3. His teammate Serene actually sold his Mordekaiser 2 on 1-4 to get him that chance, but looks like that Gambit does not pay out for the Wolves. T1 with a much stronger strategy of being strong in turn.
Zuni trying to survive on the left side of our screen here, whereas YG QF looks like he will be going down to Bintum, keeping that win streak alive. Juni, though, losing the Syndra to some of the AoE damage, and it's down to the Swain. Is he strong enough? The Shapeshifter, he's in the back line. The damage is there.
Oh
It's
my
over. But Juni survives for another round. Gonna be able to at least lock in a 5th place for T1.
The Noxian General showcasing, if you believe in me, if you 3-star me, I will get it done.
Now Wolves required to find 1-3 in order to win this game.
Oh, it's
Talking
looking
about
really
Bintum.
terrible.
Had to become the hero, just eliminated another player from that Wolves roster. A clean 10 win streak now coming into stage 6. And as we ramp up the player damage, all of a sudden, once again, Juni on a 3 win streak, and maybe Shelty as well, could be on the chopping block.
Yep, Shelty already on a 2-loss streak. He hasn't been able to 3-star his front line. The key thing here is going to be that Mordekaiser 3 for Shelty to stabilize. He's only 1 off.
Just looking, Bobe's roll down, still looking for Kalista 2, finds it. Bobe getting even stronger, was on the 3 loss potentially. Going to be free falling with that build different, but now his 3-item carry is actually upgraded.
Bobe was trying to open the path to some alternate win conditions, holding a few rises on the bench, gives up, understanding it's probably a little bit too unlikely. And now the final item pickup coming through for Bobe, who is on 2 lives, is on a 3-loss streak though, free falling a tiny bit, has to hope for some good matchmaking.
Zuni once again, this time against Bintum on the full win streak. It looks like matchmaking did not let them know that this was most likely. Bintum probably still having a wolf in the pool.
The treasure chest.
Treasure chest was bought. That is the charm to help out, and that's going to make it even tougher for Juni. But this is such a tanky Swain. The problem just being if there's backline access, and there is because of the Karma. As soon as those dots get to the Syndra, the damage won't be there anymore. Luckily, it hasn't gotten there yet, so the Swain might have held on once again. Juni beats Bintum, stays alive, and Shelty's down. That means T1 have locked this up. They've won game 1 of our grand finals.
What a
T1,
performance.
2, 3, 4 is, I think, the new name for this organization. Absolutely dominant in terms of how strong they've been. Is just Li Xiao that's hung on in the 2nd place position. But the top of the standings here is just really a showcase of what we saw throughout Stage 3, especially on the projection these players had with the balance of economy and board strength, especially Bintum, who we saw with a cluttered mind, the loss streak early to spike harder than any other player in this tournament.
They really took turns being strong. The 2 scrappers and Juni and SCSC just holding on to the 2-cost rerolls, making sure they can't run away. And it allowed Bintum and Bobe to lose streak early and then come in strong at the end to carry the game.
Juni getting to showcase one of the 3 costs in this game and how strong they actually can be. The format makes it near impossible to play around these units, but when you're able to find them, that's Swain anchoring for this composition for so long, helping just a 2-star Syndra be a main carry that can get you to a top 4, a top 3 even on this big 5 streak from Juni.
And that's one of the things that is missing sort of in the meta. If you get a big drain tank, there isn't that many targets that can deal with it. A lot of the AP lines that are favored right now can't really take a big swing off of the board. Only the Kog'Maw player can. So it's a great alternative win line, great scrapping, all the way to 3rd place. Exactly what you need out of the Rock in the team.
You know, Bintum is feeling himself, is feeling flawless once he's made it to level 10 in a 4v4 format where you feel so much pressure in stages 4 and 5 in particular. You can't usually greed this much, but he's hit the highest cap in TFT. He has the highest chance of finding these legendary units.
We saw it come off of that beautiful level 8 roll down, right? We saw both players rolling down at 8, Bintum finding everything he needed with that front line. So we look at this fight, this Swain once again, I mean, this unit, it just looks so cool, and we so rarely get to see it because it's so easy to grief these 3 costs in the 4v4 format. Not even just a 3rd Clement. Juni running it up. Ooh.
Can he actually take down Bintum? That would be so fun. This is a learning to spell Swain that has been stacking forever. He actually got it on stage 3. So I really want to see how much AP is on this character.
Now I want to throw it back to the start of stage 4. The itemization for Swain was not yet complete. There was a tier on the item bench. I would have personally slammed an adaptive. I would have said, hey, I'm playing for my life. I'm going to slam this right away. He waited. He waited for the BIS. He understood that Swain, with this itemization, would clutch, would carry these fights in the late game. And that's been the case. We've seen pretty much 4 or 5 fights in a row where it's Swain really doing all the work.
That learning to spell is a great call out, Clement. That's making it even more impactful. All that extra HP that it's getting from the ability cast.
Here's the single target damage that can take the Swain out, though, putting the Xerath on the board. If he casts a 2-star, it's already 3,000 damage to a single target. Maybe this time the Swain can't get away.
All right, well, let's see this fight for the pride here. Bintum, Duni. They've already won the game, but let's see which one can take the first. Xerath items getting slammed down. So we see the 2 shapeshifters battling it out in the front line, the Swain versus the Nasus. It's still just a Syndra 2 for the damage. And I think finally, Bintum might have gotten there on outscaling with that Xerath. Maybe not.
Don't count out the general. It's going to be a close
Here comes
fight.
another cast.
Oh, there's so many Xerath. It's the eye of the